Parliament's return, obviously, Labor's against the clock to try and get its contentious misinformation legislation through by the end of the year. Coalition, quite rightly, says it won't support the bill as it's drafted, so Labor's now trying to get the crossbench to do a deal. Already the whole process looks like a bit of a sham. Stakeholders were given barely a week to comment on quite detailed legislation. Now, those that met the deadline, well, they've been scathing. Even the left-leaning Bar Association in Victoria going as far as to say the laws will undermine free speech by encouraging, and I quote, chilling self-censorship. And now further concerns, Australians could be at risk of spending up to a year in jail if they refuse to cooperate with misinformation hearings, they're called, which could also capture people affiliated with social media or digital platforms, not just those who create the content. Joining me now to discuss this, a partner at major law firm Thomson, Geer lawyers, Justin Quill. Justin, thank you for your time. These laws are complex. It's new technology, as we know, and it's being pushed through the Parliament, very little consultation time. But when you've got all of these legal organisations lining up to say they fear for freedom of speech if these bills pass, you've got to be demanding more scrutiny than we're getting, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they are complex, but they are simply bad. It's I can't put it more simply than that. It is absolutely an undermining of free speech on so many different levels. And it's so concerning, so big brotherish, that we have this definition of misinformation, for example, reasonably verifiable as false, misleading or deceptive. Reasonably verifiable according to who? The government? And that's ultimately the main issue that I see here, is that the government or a government agency determine what is reasonably verifiable as false, misleading or deceptive. Some things might seem deceptive to the government, but are actually in reality true. So it's greatly concerning to me.
Let's step back before we get to that point you made there about the government authority, because that's ACMA, the Communications Media Authority. That's an unelected bureaucracy. They're the ultimate judge and jury, let's say, if something comes to the decision maker. But before that, obviously, you're going to have all these tech companies who won't want to breach the ACMA rule, so they'll just self-censor. If they think something looks a bit dicey, or if it's in a contentious area, let's say it's about the Middle East, let's say it's about The Voice, let's say it's about climate change, anywhere where there is debate, they'll just take it down. They'll just, lowest common denominator, just get rid of it. Then I'm not even going to be bounced into the jurisdiction of ACMA. So that's my fear, that it'll just mean that voices are lost in the online debate.
Yeah, look, judge, jury and executioner, I'd say ACMA is going to become under this legislation. In terms of self-censorship, I guess I can't really speak for the tech companies and how they will handle in the future some demand based around this definition of misinformation. We have seen, of course, X-Corp fight overreach by the Safety Commissioner, the overreach including the attempt to globally take down and censor what people saw in other countries about the stabbing of Bishop Murray in Sydney. So we've seen X-Corp fight the Safety Commissioner in that case, for example, and others. So I don't think you can necessarily assume that all tech companies will give up their right to free speech. X-Corp certainly has fought pretty hard on it. As for others, look, who knows how it will happen, but it is a concern. Self-censorship is a concern, and part of the reason it's a concern is it's not something. If a tech company doesn't fight it, then we don't know about it. It just happens in the background, and that is one of the worst sides of it. That sense of self-censorship.
Well, it certainly happened to me during The Voice, Justin. I was shut down for comments about the Uluru statement being longer than the one-page post the Prime Minister claimed. If it wasn't for lawyers at News Corp, Sky News, who took on the issue, everything that I'd said about that issue would have disappeared online. So, again, that was just before these laws, and I imagine post these laws, it's all that on steroids. This discussion today about jail terms, though, and ordinary people, explain what's the risk here.
Yeah, well, look, if there is this misinformation put out there by Joe Blow, a member of the public, and ACMA or the minister directs ACMA to conduct an investigation, they can conduct an investigation into the dissemination of what they consider misinformation. And I might say, just pausing there, even as I say that, it sounds so Big Brotherish and sounds like something from some sort of sci-fi type movie. But anyway, the minister can direct ACMA to conduct an investigation. The investigation can include the conduct of hearings. The conduct of hearings can include the calling in of Joe Blow, member of the public. And that person can be called in. If they don't cooperate, they can be punished, and it can include, as I understand it, potentially jail terms. So, a really serious situation here, and if that doesn't have the capacity to cause a chilling effect, I don't know what is. The government doesn't seem concerned. This government doesn't seem concerned with protecting free speech unless it's their version of free speech. And anything else other than what they consider to be the truth, to be reasonably verifiable. If it's not their version, then it's the subject to attack, and that of itself is greatly concerning, especially if it ends up in some sort of hearings where members of the public are hauled before these hearings. It's quite something, really, when you think about it.
Wow, Justin, what worries me is we're heading to an election and they want this passed before they're likely to call the election. I think that's got a bearing on the timing as well. Justin Quill, thank you.